My name's Madalino. I'm just a guy who likes to talk about talking. So come with me. Let's see what we're going to talk about today.
You stand before a dark corridor. The damp of mildew fills your nostrils. Your quiet breath shatters the silence. At the end of the long, dark passage, an insignificant beam of light shines weakly through. The light beckons you forward, but you hesitate. You're unsure, but you see shadows flitter in the dark corners of the corridor. What manner of man or monster lies in wait in the gloom? Are they demons come to seduce your soul from yourself? Are they specters, the spirits of those who tread this corridor before you and fell? Are they competitors? Foes who would rather see you fall than reach the light before they do? Or are they others? Others who are as lost in the darkness as you, just seeking a way out.
All right, let's see what muffin time. Hey everyone. Ooh, can you hear my stomach? I need dinner. Hey everyone. My name's Manolino Lorenzo, and I am back at here again. My name's Manolino Lorenzo, and I am back again to ask you, are you ready to get wise? Now, as most of you know, I am a storyteller. And though you may not recognize it, you are a storyteller too. All humans are storytellers. It's an innate part of our nature. From the earliest cave drawings to the myths of our gods to the smutty fan fiction we write about vampires. Storytelling is how we express ourselves, our identities, our very souls. It's as if storytelling is required for us as humans, as if our very lives depended on it. Still don't believe me? Think back to when you were a kid. Did you ever have an imaginary friend? Did you ever play with toys? Have you ever seen a child screaming across a playground as their friend chased them? See, even from our earliest days, we are wired to tell stories. They help fill in the gaps in our lives and make sense of the world around us. And one of the very first things we do when we meet someone new is tell a story about ourselves. Who am I? What is my motivation? What are the people around me? How do I know them? What is the setting of my story? All of these questions influence how we perceive ourselves and influence the stories we tell to others to define ourselves. These stories that we tell about ourselves are referred to as our narrative identity. And this one concept can have huge implications on how we live our lives. Ooh, I'm over here now. Think back to a time when you faced an unexpected difficulty. Perhaps it was the death of a loved one, an unexpected laying off, or a poor exam score you weren't ready for. Consider facing this difficulty with a personal narrative, perhaps that of a hero. To the hero, these challenges might be but small obstacles placed in the way for character development and contributing to their eventual victory over the forces of evil. Ooh, I'm over here now. Now, consider facing this difficulty with the personal narrative of a victim. To the victim, these difficulties might be the ire of a hateful universe out to get them. Such difficulties would be insurmountable, as the reasons for them inconceivable.
Inconceivable!
At times, we all play the part of the hero or the victim, but you can begin to see that our personal narrative impacts how we generally interact with our world. Oh no, Cindy has found someone. Hold on. My mother is home. She is very angry. I'll be right back.
Well, did he ever return? No, he never returned, and his fate is still unlearned. What a pity.
All right. Where was I? Our personal narrative impacts how we generally interact with the world. This story that we tell ourselves determines whether the shadows in the corridor are demons or angels, friends or foe, obstacle or opportunity. With the right narrative, that light at the end of the tunnel is either a reachable goal or a teasing impossibility. And the personal narrative isn't just related to goal setting and interpersonal interactions. Our personal narratives have physical impacts on our body and its ability to recover from mental and physical trauma. Everything from the neurotransmitters in our brain to how long it takes to get through physical therapy to the amount of burnout that we feel at the end of a long day at work. All of it is impacted by the story we have for ourselves. You may be asking yourself, how can I rewrite my story? How do I go from zero to hero? That, ladies and gentlemen, is why I stand before you on the digital stage. So, are you ready for it? I hope so, because you're going to need to roll initiative. I'm talking about D&D. Before you click away, just hear me out. For the uninitiated, Dungeons and Dragons, or D&D, is more than just that silly game they play on Stranger Things. It is a global phenomenon that feeds the part of our primitive monkey brains that loves storytelling. So massive is D&D that not even the global pandemic could stop it. D&D is just one of many tabletop role-playing games, or TTRPGs. These TTRPGs bring together a group of players who, with the aid of a dungeon master or a game master, work together to tell a collaborative story. These players create characters, and these characters take actions which drive the narrative forward and interact with the DM's world. Many players' first characters are little more than fantasy versions of themselves. I mean, my very first character was a dragonborn paladin who was a righteous Boy Scout in silver and would fight for the side of justice until the end of his 5-page backstory. Even when characters are not direct mirrors of their players, each person still brings a part of themselves to the characters they choose to play. Perhaps you can see the connection now. D&D helps people tell stories about themselves. D&D allows people to act out parts of their identity and see how the world, albeit a fantasy world, but how the world would react to these parts of them. I have played half a dozen different characters in my 3-ish, 4-ish years of D&D. I brought a different part of myself to each of them. For example, my latest character, Malataino, yes, that's just an anagram for my name, was created with the express purpose of exploring my disabilities and seeing how people would react to a character that suffers from near constant migraines and months long depressive episodes. This part of my identity is often very difficult to explain to other people, but through D&D, through the gamification lens, suddenly it made sense to people why my migraines would force me to drop concentration if I failed a constitution check. All the nerds understand what I just said. The rest of you, that's just word garbage. Sorry. And I'm not just a geek geeking out about my favorite hobby. There is a slew of research being done looking at the benefits of D&D as a creative outlet, a way to process trauma, a facilitator of social interactions, and of course, as a tool for racial, gender, cultural, and self-identity. Hopefully they display right here. If you want to know more, I'll include a list of references in the transcript for this video down in the thingy below. But to bring it back to a personal note, D&D really has helped me process a lot of my mental health problems, and through the game, I remember that I am not just a helpless victim in my story. No, I'm the hero of it. Which brings us back to that question. How can you go from zero to hero? While I would love if everyone started playing D&D, I know that the game is not for everyone. But there are other ways to tell the stories we have etched in our hearts. There are ways to live our stories and be unabashedly ourselves. I have a friend who's obsessed with My Hero Academia, and they can talk my ear off about the various ships that they support and they despise. I have another friend whose whole identity revolves around going to the gym, and they can talk my ear off about amino acids and all the things it does for my muscles. See, not every story is an epic quest to stop the forces of evil. Sometimes the story is just about a mom who loves Korean dramas and making scrapbooks. I love you, Mom. My advice is to find that thing that brings out the truest version of yourself, be it Japanese anime, hitting the gym, or rolling plastic math rocks. The story you tell about yourself does not have to be about a victim. We decide whether the story we write is a tragedy or comedy, whether it's a romance or an epic, whether it's a slice of life or an intergalactic fetch quest. The only thing that matters is that we write it. I am a storyteller, and I hope by now you realize so are you. So, you stand before a dark corridor, unsure of the path before you and the things you'll encounter on the way. The unknown calls to you, that light at the end of the tunnel. You feel a rush of adrenaline coursing through your veins. Is it fear or is it excitement? Either way, it's your move. So, roll for initiative.